All right, let's jump in. Like I mentioned, I'm starting the meeting just as early as I can. I have to leave early today, so unfortunately, it's a really crazy day, an important day to do an afternoon meeting. But I gotta leave early. So my plan was to just kind of do the afternoon recap without the Q&A portion today. If anybody's got any dire consequences, questions, put them in, and I'll answer them. But I do got to take off a little early today, so I apologize in advance for that. So let's jump in. I'm an associate member of T3 Trading Group, an SEC registered broker dealer, and member of FINRA SIPC. All of my trades are placed through T3 Trading Group. You should carefully consider whether trading is suitable for you in light of your own financial condition. My position disclosure is unchanged. The sizing changes every day, but the position disclosure itself is unchanged. All right, so yeah, wild day. Right now, including any after-hours action, the SPY's closed down 1.15%. Doesn't it feel like so much more? The Qs are down 1.5%. The IWM is down 0.9%. Part of the reason why it feels like so much more is because after the number this morning at 8:30, we had such a strong rally that we spent most of today digesting, ranging, bull flagging, and looking super bullish, like a percentage point or so up. So really, the breakdown that started at about 2 p.m. today, even though the market's down a little bit over a percentage point, it's really like a 2+% move, all within 2 hours. So that's why it feels like this massive move. If you think about where we actually came from to where we actually closed, it's a $10 plus move. From highs to lows into the close. So yeah, so big day to the downside today. Again, as I was just saying, we had a nice gap up this morning. The market was looking so bullish between the ISM services number yesterday at 10, and then the number this morning. It just seemed like this market is just completely unstoppable. The technicals pre-market this morning were looking beautiful. We're thinking maybe we're getting higher high, higher low situation to actually come into the SPYs if we could push just a little bit. Qs we're talking about, maybe they can break this resistance of this range that it's been in for over a month and give continuation. Everything is looking just fantastic. The IWM is back above 206, which is important, back above 205, which is important, retesting some more minor resistance at 208. We're seeing if maybe this thing can get back above 210 for bull trend continuation for the Russell. The TLT this morning is above 92, which is also supportive of the market. I think the dollar was down a little bit this morning as well. The TLT actually held up really well, but like we were discussing in the afternoon, it held up as a fear trade more than anything else. So what the heck happened today? What really triggered this? Well, it's a little almost tricky in some ways to figure it out. Ooh, we got a SoFi analyst action here coming out after hours. I'll take it. So it was almost a little bit tricky because so much information was coming out at once. We had 2 Fed members, I think 1 voting member, 1 non-voting member, saying like I penciled in 2 rate cuts for the year at the March meeting, and obviously the market has been expecting 3, and the Fed has been forecasting 3. The dot plot's been saying 3, so that is not great for bulls. But the truth of the matter is, Powell moves the market. The other Fed members, their comments haven't really moved the market in a major way since 2022, when we were really in the bear market and inflation was 7+% or whatever it was. But at the same time as we had all that Fed speak that was ongoing, we had this Israel-Iran situation kind of picking up steam, where Blinken came out and said that U.S. policy will change if Israel does not change course. That's, I think, a direct quote. So that is what obviously, sunk this market, is that while there's a potential impending attack from Iran on Israel, that Blinken would come out and say, and as this is happening, we think that maybe we're not going to support you in the same way that we did previously. And that is what really created the down move in the market. That was the catalyst that really sunk the market. And that's confirmed by the fact that the TLT was actually able to hold up in that move. The TLT rose even. If the market was moving down because of Fed speak, because of less cuts being planned this year, then the TLT should not only not be moving up, it should be getting smoked on the downside. But this TLT moving higher as a fear trade of kind of impending war or impending change in what's the word I'm looking for? Relations between countries. There's a word for that I can't remember right now. That fear is actually what impacted the market. That's what caused the sell-off. It's what actually caused the TLT to rise. And you can look at look at Lockheed Martin, look at the price action in Lockheed Martin that was ongoing pretty much at the same time. So all that really confirms, if anyone was curious on what created the sell-off, that it has more to do with this Israel-Iran situation than anything else. Sorry, just give me 1 second here. Just gotta fill it on something. Anyway, what time did Blinken say this comment? About 2 o'clock. About 2 o'clock, somewhere around 2 o'clock. I don't have an exact timestamp for you. We already were starting to roll down a little bit, maybe due to the Fed speak to some degree, and then we accelerated here at 2 o'clock, and you can see the TLT move didn't really start until 2:10. So, and that's about closer to when I think Blinken made those comments. So I think that the market was already rolling a little bit. You can actually even see the TLT down ticking small here at 2 o'clock as the SPYs were beginning to roll over a little bit, but the acceleration really kind of came in, I think, off the Blinken comments. So yeah, we need to take a look at our daily charts here for an update. So SPYs closed below the Fed day, the Fed starting print low, which has been a really key spot that we've been paying attention to, which is 515.50. We closed below that pivot low into the 21 EMA from 2 trading sessions ago, which we also said had some importance. So that's not good. The Qs, same deal. Qs closed well below 438.78, which is the starting point from the Fed. They closed below the low from 2 days ago. The IWM is the only one that's kind of hanging in a little bit. The IWM actually had relative strength. If you guys remember, when I was trying to put on some kind of afternoon cute little scalping trades for some cash flow, I was trying to focus on the IWM over the Qs because I actually felt that in the face of this type of move, you would see relative strength in the IWM, which is cheaper fundamentally, has less money to come out of it, to be totally honest. And because the fear trade is actually bringing interest rates down, that's also going to benefit the IWM. So that's kind of why I was going after that. So while the SPYs and the Qs lost some really major levels, the IWM is actually still above their major levels. It's still above the Fed starting point print, which is 202.06. So bears need the IWM to get below 202, and then 200, it's the major weekly level that we've been looking at. But without a doubt, today is a day to take notice of. Today is a high volume negative Maribozu candlestick where, for the SPYs and Qs at least, some major support levels were broken. So the bulls got their work cut out for them at this point. Obviously, the bulls have had a huge amount of control in this market for 4 months, but they need to pretty much immediately make a stand like tomorrow, I think, to either give you some sort of quick down tail that brings us back through today's low tomorrow and gives us an okay close but into the end of the week, or gives an inside and up. And historically, to be honest with you, even though we've had a lot of really strong Fridays this week, when you run into more of these international problems, we saw this a lot more in the early stages of the Ukraine-Russia situation. That back at that time, it seemed like every single Friday we would actually be very weak and close on lows because market participants did not want to have excess long exposure over a weekend when who the heck knows what's going to happen geopolitically. So the bulls have their work cut out for them. They need to give an inside day tomorrow, or they need to give some sort of downside tail with a decent close tomorrow. Otherwise, if you do have that weak Friday, which could happen, and it makes sense based on what we've seen in the past, we're breaking below these major levels. And what we've spoken about so consistently as a team here is based on our market dynamic information that at a certain point on the downside, selling can become a feedback cycle that leads to selling. We've been talking about this for over a month. We're in a market environment right now where small dips are technically and structurally viable, but in a market environment right now where big dips are not only going to be viable, they're actually going to be something that you want to sell into. And then honestly, like Pat was saying into the close, very, very big picture, it can set up for a buying opportunity if you get like a down 10% market or something like that, a real market correction at a certain point. Then we might actually be once again considering coming in on the other side. But that's far and away at this point to be making those sort of predictions. So the real question, I think, after today's trading session, we got this negative Maribozu. The bulls are in the penalty box. They need to make a stand tomorrow. I would argue that unless we get, I mean, we do have an important economic number tomorrow, but I would argue that at least unless something really changes overnight or tomorrow morning, it's going to be hard for the bulls to be able to do that. And then if we get this selling much further, we do still have a few major support levels kind of in front of us here that the market is still above, even though we lost the Fed day. You've got that big level that goes back to the NVIDIA earnings report from February 22nd. I'm sure if traders remember how long we were looking at that gap here, the support from that gap. So we've got the 503 to 505 area, which is also a really, really big support level for the SPYs. But the big question that I'm saying is, at what point, or are we potentially already at that point, or how close are we to that point where it's no longer that small dip that should be structurally purchased, but actually becomes the big dip that should be sold into? And it's a little early to make that call right now, but it's starting to feel like that, especially when you look at the negative Maribozu, the reason that created the catalyst, the fact that tomorrow is a Friday, and the fact that the VIX gave us a close above 16 today, which is another thing to take notice of. I thought that my $19 and $20 VIX calls that are expiring soon in mid-April were garbage by the end of last month, but I was going to hold on to them anyway, and now I'm like, ooh, maybe there's actually a chance for this position. So yeah, we'll see. Definitely a interesting environment, a really exciting day. Just make sure the smart money was to the short side today after those events were taking place. I was so busy and caught a little bit flat-footed into that initial move, just in terms of new execution. Luckily, I actually had a lot of TQQ short on at the time when that happened. But just make sure that just remember that the trend is your friend, and when heavy volume is coming in on the sell side like it was today, you got to be very careful on any longs. You got to pick your spots on any longs. You got to stop yourself out on any longs when they're not working. I think that we did a really good job being patient and kind of waiting until towards the close and trying to pick out those longs. And for me, it was an IWM focus because of the relative strength that we had been discussing. So you pick your spots there a little bit, but when you're doing stuff like that, it's got to be small. It's got to be with stop losses in place, risk management in place. The bigger, better money into those moves is honestly to the short side. But the short's still a little bit tricky because you're fighting the big picture still. The big picture's still intact. So we'll see if that comes to play. But it's exciting. This is exciting because the market's been this very grindy market The intraday price action has been very boring for the most part on an index level. We've been seeing a lot of flatline days. And someone was just asking me, I think in yesterday's afternoon meeting, about, how can you try to predict a trend day before it actually occurs? And what do we talk about? Technical breaks, fundamental, news changes at a high level, and gamma structure changes is kind of the major three things. And we could be on the precipice of all three of those things actually occurring, where we get more exciting intraday action similar to today. Because keep in mind, it felt like a massive move today, but this really isn't that massive compared to what we saw into 2022. And there's no problem, just if you're a newer trader, Vincent, or anyone off of Vincent's comment here, to take a half step back in price action that you're not used to, that can potentially be more dangerous. Because the thing about these bigger, faster moves and the higher volatility is that they can lead to a lot more profitability and a lot more trade setup, but they also have the ability to be more dangerous for newer traders who might be a little bit more slower to react, or haven't seen this type of market environment. But for the people who have been doing this for a long time, I think that you should be a little bit excited, honestly, that today is potentially maybe beginning to set up for maybe some consistently more dynamic price action, trending price action, and more broader opportunity for trading. So that's pretty much all I got. Cool trading at CADL today. Glad a few people. Rex, glad you crushed that with me. I was honestly up by like $3, so awesome to see that you were still selling stock at like the 5s or 6s or whatever. So great job there. I think we did a great job as a team with our communication today. So we were totally on the ball. So that's pretty much all I got. Unless anybody's got any like major, super important questions, like I said in the beginning of the meeting, I unfortunately, because it's such an important day, I unfortunately have to drop early. I'm just seeing what's in YouTube real quick. Yeah, Gabriel, I think this is going to heat things up a little bit, like I was saying. Yeah, we got non-farm payrolls tomorrow, so that's also going to be a big thing. What do I think of Tilray? I'm still long Tilray, but I've been selling the entire way up. I've been selling Tilray the entire way up. I've been lightning into this entire move, and it's very extended here, so I'd be careful on it. I don't know what IoT is. I don't know what this thing is. Just range bound, so I don't have a comment on it. All right, gang. Again, apologies. I really got to jump a little bit early today. So have a wonderful night. I will see everyone tomorrow morning. If you're on YouTube, give me the thumbs up.